this is Giovanni Beck. It's good to see you again today. Let's get started in this storytelling about my last 8 years while living in chronic laboring pains. The first video that I had shared with you was pretty much a timeline of kind of what happened and what happened to JC Styles. So today I'm going to share a little backstory of myself, just basically building a rapport with you so that you can trust the information that's coming from me over the past 8 years. So again, I am Giovanni Vet. It's nice to meet you. This is now October the 18th, 2022. Like I said, the last video was pretty much a timeline. This video, back in 2014, I was now a divorced woman and a mother of 2. I had rekindled with an ex. And when I rekindled with this ex at the time was living in Atlanta. And we were dating long distance for a while. We decided that it was best that I relocate to Atlanta. So fast forward, I ended up relocating to Atlanta in 2014 when I rekindled after divorce. I rekindled with the ex after divorce. Now, let's get this out the way. This ex of mine is someone that I crossed back over the bridge and revisited, meaning my first child and my third child have the same father. So both of my girls have the same father. My son, which is my only son, he's from my husband, my ex-husband. So my first pregnancy, we separated. I ended up getting in a marriage. We divorced. I ended up rekindling back with the first baby daddy. And, okay. So now, 2014, opportunity to move down to Atlanta. So we moved down to Atlanta. Now, at the time when we moved down to Atlanta, when it was time to move and it was actually time to relocate, I found out that I was pregnant. Okay, we discussed that in a previous video with a baby. The day I was supposed to move, I ended up having a bleeding episode. So when I had a bleeding episode, just unsure of what I was dealing with, I ended up at the ER. So when I went to the ER, they did some tests where some levels are measured, and because I was so early, I was only six weeks and 5 days pregnant at the time. Because it was so early, they were saying that several things. The heartbeat either wasn't developed to hear it, or it was there but it was faint. But 6 weeks and 5 days is not much of a actual child, more so than an embryo still. So they recommended that I come back in 2 weeks to get retested, so that if my levels dropped, then that means that I had a miscarriage, and then I would have to deal with having a miscarriage. However, like I stated, this all happened the day I was supposed to actually get on the road to relocate from Delaware down to Atlanta. So I ended up at a girlfriend's house for a week. In her bed, not feeling well, me and my 2 children. After about a week went past, I still had, it was like I was on my cycle. It was like I had my menses. So after about a week went past, I ended up getting up one day and I felt amazing. I really felt amazing. And I was like, okay, it's time to hit the road. I don't know what's going on, but I feel amazing. I stopped bleeding. So if I did miscarriage, okay, I would have to figure that out. But if I didn't miscarry, what was that I was dealing with? So, after a week of staying at my girlfriend's house, we ended up relocating to Atlanta. So, we get to Atlanta. At the time, when I relocated, and I actually had a salon that I was calling home. And I don't recall the name of the salon, unfortunately. But I was located in Sandy Springs, Atlanta, right outside of Atlanta. So, I was like on the borderline, like Roswell Road, so in that area. So I was there for a very short blink, maybe about 6 weeks. I had stayed in the shop just because literally every day I started to get up And as I was trying to build my clientele, I was dealing with this pain. This pain started happening. It was real faint, but it was still painful. So then, all the while of trying to relocate and, get the children enrolled in school and get their pediatricians and, finding a OBGYN in order to, take me on as a new patient for my third child, that was a task because I never, ever, ever in my life, Atlanta doctors do not answer phones. Everything is a voicemail. They will get back to you within 24 hours. I was not used to that. In Delaware, you call, you get someone on the other end. Very, very, very faintly and mildly, you will get a voicemail. But if you do, you get a call like almost immediately back. Atlanta wasn't like that. Atlanta, at the time in 2014, they really wasn't taking on new patients, different insurances. It was just a whole different world down there when it came to dealing with this third child that I'm now pregnant with. So I'm down there and I'm trying to establish a life. I'm going to work, I'm promoting, I'm meeting people, So somehow or another, I can't recall, too much trauma has happened, but I can't recall, but somehow or another, I ended up at Sports Clips on Marietta? In Marietta? I think it was either was Marietta, Georgia, or Marietta Road. I don't know. It was somewhere. Anyway, I used to work with this company called Sports Clips. So when I went in there, I was working in there for full time as a master artist for hair cutting, male's hair. Females came in there as well. But that ended up being short-lived because, again, the pain that I started to experience. So, okay. So I end up finding a doctor. And again, I just relocated. I went down with 2 children. I relocated with 2 children. I have to figure it out. I have to get the ball rolling. I have to have some kind of income coming in. I have to do something. So it was, finally found the doctor. So I'm going to go see this doctor. We ended up doing the testing when he took me on as a new patient. I forgot the doctor's name. I'll try to have to find some paperwork. But the doctor took me on and I gave him all the paperwork from the ER. And when I gave him all the paperwork from the ER, then it was like, okay, at the time, this should have been about, we moved in June, July, like towards the end of July, this should have happened. So towards the end of July in 2014, I was thinking, okay, this pain is all too familiar. So one day when I went into the doctor's office, as a new patient, this doctor really don't have a rapport with me yet. I go in and I tell this doctor and I said, listen, I'm starting to feel this pain. This pain is all too familiar. I felt this pain before. And the doctor said, tell me about your previous pregnancies when you started experiencing this pain. So I said, okay, well, my first child, I was 21 years of age. And I can't recall when the pain started, but I remember walking became very difficult. Extremely difficult. My second child, it was like walking became non-existent. So much so that I tore ligaments in my pelvis. And when I tore ligaments in my pelvis, it's almost like I was immediately paralyzed. It was the craziest thing ever that I experienced at the time, right? So I'm telling the doctor now in Georgia of my previous second pregnancies. So the doctor says to me, oh, you have something called Symphysis Pubis Dysfunction. Symphysis Pubis Dysfunction. So I said, what is that? What is Symphysis Pubis Dysfunction? So he goes and prints out some paperwork and he brings it into me. And he goes, here goes some literature. I want you to read up on it. And I want you to understand what you're going to be experiencing. So I said, okay. I'm sorry, I had to make sure it was still recording. So he said, I want you to go and research some of this, and I want you to understand what you're about to experience. So I said, okay, I had 2 pregnancies. Now, my whole thing with pregnancies, somebody may say, well, if you was in all this pain, why did you have baby number 2? Why did you have baby number 3? Well, because baby number 1 was never, ever, ever diagnosed as anything. It was just, I was a young black woman in Wilmington, Delaware, talking about I was in this pain, and they had no knowledge of why I was in all this pain. Child number 2, again, Wilmington, Delaware, have no knowledge of why I'm in all this pain, but I'm in all this pain. Both children, first and second pregnancy, I'm literally on Percocets. Literally. Those are a whole nother story. We'll go down that road another time. Right now, we're talking about the last 8 years. I go home and I Google Symphysis Pubis Dysfunction. And I found the story about a woman who had 2 boys. She was the only story that I can find at the time. She had 2 boys. And she was diagnosed with something called Symphysis Pubis Dysfunction. And after having 2 pregnancies, I can't remember if they were vaginal or C-section, but after having 2 pregnancies, she was now in a wheelchair. 2 pregnancies, she was now in a wheelchair. So, Giovanni Vett, why did you keep having these babies if you was in all this pain? Well, I had the mindset at the time that each pregnancy is going to be different than the last pregnancy. Every pregnancy is different. No pregnancies are the same. This is what I heard growing up. So I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. My first 2 children are 7 years apart. My second and my third 2 children are 8 years apart. So you can see my mindset. I wasn't trying to have no more children because it was so traumatizing. But then I would, my thought process was, it can't be as bad as the last one. There's no way. So I will proceed with a pregnancy only to experience trauma even worse. So I'm reading about this woman. She had 2 boys and she's now in a wheelchair. She now has to play with her sons in a wheelchair. She has slip disc in her back. Can't remember what else. She was married at the time. I do remember that. She was married. She had 2 boys. She was in a wheelchair. She had a slip disc. I can't remember if she had any surgeries or anything like that. And I remember crying. I remember just bawling because I'm thinking, why does something as pregnancy and something that's called symphysis pubis dysfunction, why is it so traumatizing to this woman's body that she's now in a wheelchair? However, she really can't even express why she's in a wheelchair in this article that I'm reading. She just knows she was diagnosed with something, and now this is how her life has been due to her giving birth or pregnancies. Let me say that, not giving birth is more so the pregnancy. The pregnancy of 2 boys, she now in the wheelchair for life. And I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and cried because I couldn't understand. I needed more. I needed more. I needed to know why. Why was this woman going through this? I needed to know what exactly was symphysis pubis dysfunction. I just needed to know more. At the time in 2014, I researched what I could. And it wasn't that much out there. Number 1, it wasn't that much information about symphysis pubis dysfunction. And number 2, it wasn't that much out there and pertains to a black woman with symphysis pubis dysfunction. Exactly. So, this was hard information to really gather and comprehend and digest in 2014, right? Other than what this printout is, which is probably what they got from Google or some medical textbooks. And then... I'm sorry, I heard something. Other than we got out of the medical textbook. So, I'm reading this woman's story. I'm on Google, and I'm searching. I'm not finding much of anything. However, I do understand that there's some bone separation going on in my pelvis because of this symphysis pubis dysfunction. And it starts in the front of the pelvis of the woman based on... Okay, so this opening right here, in between the 2 fingers, let me put it here. So the opening between the two fingers, it's a joint. They call it an immovable joint. It has very slight movements, and it's because it's your pelvis. So it has very slight movement, so that when you walk, when you open your legs, close your legs, things like that. So it's a little area right here called we're gonna skip that for right now. Anyway, other than that, not being on top of my head, let's continue. So that little area right there, that's usually where it starts. Okay. The pain got so bad while by October, I was on full-time bed rest. Because just to go into the office for my monthly visits to the doctor, the OBGYN, it was so taxing. It was so taxing that I asked to take the specimen cup with me so that I can do my morning urine and bring it into the office. Because I could not walk into the office, sit down, get called, go back, get my pump on, the blood pressure pump, get my weight, get a urine sample. I can't do that up and down, up and down, up and down. Listen, I need you to see me when I come in because it's taxing to get up in here. It's beyond taxing. I researched all I could about something called symphysis pubis dysfunction at the time. And symphysis pubis dysfunction is, as of today, 2022, this is how I can articulate what symphysis pubis dysfunction is. Symphysis pubis dysfunction is when a woman when a woman's body is going into labor, it's like triggered into labor, right? Science has not discovered exactly what happens that triggers a woman's body into labor. It's just something that naturally occurs, and when it occurs, it usually occurs around the 40th week, the 9th month, 10th month, however you want to say it. We're not here for that. And when that occurs, in order for your 6, 10, 12 pound, 15 pound baby to pass through the birth canal, your body has to release these two hormones more so oxytocin and relaxin. When the oxytocin and relaxin is released during labor, it allows for your ligaments, muscles, tendons, and your bones to relax. And when you relax, it'll allow your body to expand so that this whole baby can come out of the vaginal canal. If these two hormones do not take place, more so the hormone relaxin, the baby can get lodged, wedged, will not come down the birth canal or something like that because the body hasn't either produced, maybe, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm just articulating what I've experienced, and this is how I'm able to, I guess, paint the picture for you. So if the baby's getting stuck, maybe then there's too less or little of the hormone relaxant or oxytocin, okay? Symphysis pubis dysfunction is bone separation. Now, this is where the doctors fail us. What's bone separation? I just said it. It's when your body goes into labor. So if your body goes into labor at 40 weeks, 10 weeks, 40 weeks, 10 months, 9 months, however you want to articulate it, when your body does that, right? Your body needs the relaxin hormone and the oxytocin hormone in order for your body, your pelvis, to expand so that the baby can come out. Now, if you are prematurely having this, meaning if you are prematurely having bone separation, which they may tell you, your doctor or midwife or doula may tell you have symphysis pubis dysfunction. What they're telling you is you have bone separation. However, that's where they stop. They tell you, you have to wear a supportive belt. You have to keep, you got to do your transfers with your legs together. You got to watch, intimacy, non-existent. Forget it. Nobody's going up in there. Symphysis pubis dysfunction is prematurely happened. Bone separation is prematurely happened. Let's just say for me, it happened at 3 months with my third child. So here it is at 3 months. I'm now having bone separation. called symphysis pubis dysfunction. But why is my bone separating? It's just something called symphysis pubis dysfunction. Now, this was back in 2014 mindset. Now, fast forward to 2022, I'm able to tell you symphysis pubis dysfunction is you are prematurely in labor. Your body, your ovaries to be exact, are prematurely releasing more so the relaxant hormone. Because it's releasing the relaxant hormone, it's going to cause your ligaments, your tendons, your fascia muscles, all that stuff that has to do with the relaxant, it's going to cause all that to start relaxing. And when it starts relaxing, imagine your pelvis that's supposed to be sturdy, right? But now your pelvis is like this, right? It's supposed to be like real sturdy and tight and stern. So imagine just like this. Now your pelvis is like this. It's horrible. It's a horrible feeling, y'all. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. Okay. Symphysis pubis dysfunction is you're in premature labor. You're in premature labor, guys. The doctors are not going to tell you that. The doctors are not going to say, oh yeah, symphysis pubis. But let me tell you, symphysis pubis dysfunction is premature labor. Your body is prematurely giving off the relaxant hormone. When your body's giving off this relaxant hormone, it's causing everything in your pelvic area that's supporting this baby to relax. Because your body's confused. Your body thinking, oh, we're getting ready to deliver. We're getting ready to deliver. We're getting ready to deliver. However, you're not ready to deliver. You're safe, the baby's safe, but you're in all this pain. It's like building a house on a weak foundation. It's like building a house on a rubber band foundation. That's exactly what it's like. So now you got to house this baby, this growing baby, on top of your weight, which now, because you're in so much pain, you're not eating, so you're losing weight. Know all about that. You're dehydrated and everything else. Yeah, know all about that. But symphysis pubis dysfunction is exactly that. It is your body prematurely in labor. Your body is giving off the relaxant hormone in such an abundance that your body now is thinking that we are getting ready to have a baby. Okay? What does that mean? Stay tuned for tomorrow. Stay tuned. I don't want these videos to be long, y'all. It's a lot. I don't want these videos to be too long. I don't mind breaking them up. But I just wanted to get you to understand what symphysis pubis dysfunction is. Symphysis pubis dysfunction is you are in premature labor. That's what you are, which means your world has changed, which means you literally have to change everything you do. You got to change the way you walk. You got to change the way you bathe. You got to change your daily routine and your quality of care, even with your children. If you have other children and you're now dealing with symphysis pubis dysfunction, you need assistance in a way that people may not understand that you need, because they may think that you're just tripping. You just want attention. You know, and then they start comparing stories, or it's just too much. It's too much. It's too much. Bear with me, please. Bear with me with sharing my story. Bear with me with y'all patience. Bear with me with being vulnerable. Bear with me with letting y'all know my truth. Just bear with me, please. I ask for your patience. But I will get another video out to you and continue my story. Once again, I am Giovanni Beck. Until the next time, blessings, royals.